Hi, welcome to this live stream. Now what we were doing last time. Okay, we were building the application that is the example that I am giving you on how to use AppHive. For the people that are new here, my name is Jorge Rangel. I am a software developer here on AppHive. And in fact, I am giving a bunch of tutorials on how to use the editor. And I am here the bridge with you, the English speaking people with AppHive, because AppHive is almost entirely used for people by people that speak Spanish. But we are trying to change that, right? By giving you a lot of examples on how to do things in AppHive in English. So if you have any questions, this is the right time to ask them, okay? If you don't have any, then let's continue with the example application that we were building. So give me a moment. I am opening my editor in my project that I have. So I am opening it and I'm going to share my screen. Give me a moment. Okay, where is it? Here you go. Okay, I can see my screen is now shared here. And let's open the project that we were building. I think is this one, car rents. Let's check it out. Okay, we have, this is the correct one. We have the input for the start and end date, and we have this splash screen. If you remember correctly, in this splash screen, we have a function that is called isLoggedIn that checks if there is a user currently authenticated in the application. If there is no user authenticated in the application, you go to the out email, which is this page right here. In this page, we were building the validation system, right? The validation function that gives us an error depending on which part of the email is not correct. So if I go here and launch the application, I'm going to open my console. Remember, we are working right now in the web app version of the application, but AppHive also supports the Android and the iOS version of the same application, right? So I am just using the web app application because it's a little bit easier for me to share with you the screen right now. So we have here the page that I show you here. The first one is this one because it has the start field, but when it enters, it executes the onload function. It checks that there is no user authenticated, sorry, and it goes directly to the out email page, which is this one. Here you can see that is correct. That is what I am seeing right here. So if I type anything, Jorge, by example, and I click next, you can see I get the error when I click next. The error says the email should have an @ character. Let's add the @ character and let's click again. The server part of your email should contain at least one character. Okay, the server part is the part that goes after the @ character, right? Let's put that right. Okay, it says that now it's correct. Let's check it out in the function. Okay, we have the username, the server with domain, and you have to have a server with domain here. Let's leave it like that for now, but because I'm going to leave that there because it was a demonstration on how to do validations in your inputs. You have to validate the inputs that the client gives to you, but it's not necessary to go in a lot of detail with it because Firebase, remember, AppHive uses Firebase behind the scenes. When Firebase gets this email, it does the validation itself. In fact, it also checks if the email is a valid one or if the email exists. So let's continue now. But you can add a lot more resolution to your validation. That depends on how many validations you want to for your user. Because remember, after all of this, the user is the one that is going to check the validations, right? When the user is typing right here. So for now, let's leave it like that. And after here, you can see I get a modified control with the validate email. And if there is no error right here, I return an empty string. And when I return an empty string, I can catch that and check it. And when the string is an empty string, we can do the next step, which is checking if the user already exists as a user in our application, or the user is a new one, or the email doesn't correspond to any valid email. So let's check it out. To do that, we can use a function that is called value is valid. Value is valid, like that one. Okay, and I'm gonna pass it the value that it was returned by your validate email input, which is the code compute that we have right here. Remember, the text that is below the name of the function is the custom name that we put to that function. Okay, so now that we have this one here, let's check the callbacks that this function has. The callback that is below is an invalid value. That means that we return the empty string. So let's put a debug log here. Debug log, and let's print the email value. The email value, remember, is stored in the input that is right here. So email error text field email dot value. Okay, so let's check it out. Click on this one, nothing happens. AppHive, there you go. So now we have a way to execute code or execute functions, whether the email is correct for the user, right? So instead of putting a debug log here, we need to check if the user already exists. And in order to do that, we don't have exactly a function to do that, because if you go to the user section, you can see change my password, forget my password is logged in, log it with Apple, log out, set user custom data, sign up, you update out, and update out info. So we don't have a function that directly checks if the email is already registered in our application, but we can try it. How? If you go right here, login, this function login right here, it expects an email. In this case, we are going to put the email that the user types in the input, and it expects a password. We didn't ask the user to have to type a password, right? Because we don't know if the user already has an account or it doesn't have an account. I want to try something. I don't know if this function returns us a different error depending of whether or not the user is already logged in. So in order to check that out, let's put here the value in the input field email, and let's put a password. But I want to at least be reasonably sure that the password won't match a real password. So let's put here an UID, right? Because I don't want to log in with this email just yet. I want to check if the user is already in my application, or it's already in my system. In order to do that, I am hoping for this function to return a different error when the user already has an account and when the user doesn't have an account. It's going to fail. This function is always going to fail. At least I hope it will fail. Why? Because I am not putting here the correct password, right? So if I go here and I go to the error login, let's put here a debug log to check it out. First, let's print that. Let's go here. Let's type something and let's click next. Nothing happens. So maybe it's not executed that callback, right? This callback is error login. Let's copy and paste here, invalid credentials, and let's check it out. Oh, okay, I need to put a valid email, right? Click on it. Okay, it goes here, but you can see right now that it doesn't give me any information about the account. It just gives me an error without anything. It calls the callback here in invalid credentials. I can put here a text, invalid credentials. So whether or not this user is already logged in my application, it gives me this error when the password doesn't match or when the user is not already signed in. So let's try it again. There you go, invalid credentials. Let's put a valid email. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is that the email is not really valid. So let's change the value right here, .io. and click again, invalid credentials. So I am a little bit disappointed in the fact that it doesn't really give me details on why it fails. So let's go to the panel right here and the editors panel, and you can see here, this is the editors of the application. If I go to members is the list of users that use this application. And you can see here I have a member already, which is Jorge at apphive.io. So if I try with other email, for example, Jorge2, and click on it, I get invalid credentials. And here, if I refresh it, okay, it doesn't register the email. So we will have to make a custom solution in order for us to check if the user is already inside our application. How do we do that? We need to save the email of the user and a flag that says if the user is already logged in. The problem with doing that is that it could go out of sync with Firebase. In Firebase, we will have the user, but if the user is deleted from Firebase, the system will believe or will check in the database and the user will be there. So maybe that's a problem, but it's a problem for later. For now, let's add a collection in the database in order to check if the user was already logged in. So here in my Cloud Database editor, let's add a new collection, and this collection is going to be called user emails. Okay, and this collection is going to contain only two things. The first one is the ID, and the ID of this email is going to be the email itself. Okay, but I can't put directly the email, because if I put the email, remember in Firebase, the email is not a valid key because of the @ character. So we need to find a way to convert that email in something that will be used as a key, but it has to have some guarantees. For example, it has to be unique, and it has to be one-to-one with the emails. What do I mean by that? If I put the email A, that email A will only generate the same string of characters that is valid to Firebase. Fortunately for us, we already have a function that does that. It's called base64, and the base64 function takes a string and converts it to another string that is in base64. It's effectively a hash operation. So anytime we get an email, we can hash it with the base64 function and get a new string that is unique to that email, and will always be that string with the same email. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And of course, it's compatible with the paths in Firebase. So we are going to be using that as our key, right? And in the fields, we are only going to get one field. The field that we're going to be getting is available. And it's going to be a boolean, true or false, depending on whether or not the user is there or not. So let's put this in practice. When I click next right here, and the value is already valid, which we checked right here, and the value is a correct typed email right here. Now we need to check whether or not it is in the database. But in order to do that, we have to convert it first to base64. In order to do that, we have a function that is called global formatter. In the global formatter function, we have a mode that is called string, and the origin data that we have to convert is the email that we type in the input, right? So we have the field email value is of type string, and the target is base64. Let's rename this function to something a little bit more mnemonic. In this case, it's going to be email 64 value. 60, not 50. 64 value. There you go. Now let's print it so we make sure everything is correct. So let's put here a debug log function. And in the debug log function, let's put here the email 64 value. And let's check it out in our application. There you go. Now let's type here, Jorge apphive.io. Click on it, and you can see it creates this value right here, which is a base64 string that we can use to store a new value in the database. But first, we need to check if the value already exists in my database. To do that, let's add a new function right here, which is called get database data. There you go. And in the get database data, let's put the path. The path is user emails. The identifier is the hash of the email, which is the email 64 value, and the available part of it. So let's check it out. Here, in the end callback, let's print the value that the function getDatabase returns. Let's go back here. Let's type something. I am clearing my console and click on it. And you can see I receive a null. Why do I receive a null value? Because I don't have a value inside of my database right now. This is the first time I'm calling it with the email, right? So if I do not have a value here, it means that the user never signed in to my email, to my application, right? So we need to direct the user to the next step, which is creating an account, right? So let's add a new page. Let's copy this one, in fact, create a copy. Let's change the name, out, create new. There you go. And here, let's put some text that will tell the user that we are creating a new account. Complete your profile. And inside of here, we need an input, but we don't need the input of the email. We already have the email of the user. And I'm not going to let the user edit that email right here. So in order to change that, let's add a text right here. And that text, oh, sorry, I didn't remember that we already have here an error text. Let's remove that one. And let's select the parent of this one, okay? And let's add this one, a text. And this text right here is going to be the email, right? Let's make it a little bit less white. And let's change the text color to something that contrasts more with the background, right? And the font size, it's going to be a little bit bigger. There you go. Let's change the name of this text. Let's put it text email. And now I need the email in this page, right? And in order to get the email on this page, I have to pass it from the page that already gets the email. So first, let's go to the next button and remove all of the functions right here, because we don't have functions in the next button in this page. And in the page right here, I have to select the page. In order to do that, let's click outside, like here, and let's put a new parameter to the page, right? The parameter is going to be email address. Okay, there you go. Now I can go to this page passing the email. If I go here to the next function, and here after the get database data ends, let's change the name, check if exists, like so. And here, instead of putting a debug log, let's put a value is valid. And let's pass the value from the database, check if exists. And if it doesn't exist, let's do a replace top page. And in this replace top page, let's go to out create new. Let's change the name because I think I put to this on it. There you go. Let's return to here. And here in the out create new, let's pass the email address that we typed in this input right here, field email.value. Okay, so now in this one, if I try this one without any further modification, you will see something wrong with it. I am here. I'm going to type the email, sorry, jorge@apphive.io. Okay, so now when I press next, okay, it redirects me to the next page, which is please complete your profile. But the email doesn't show up here. Why? Because we need to load it. How? If I go to the page that we are working on, which is this one, and I add a new event, which is called onload. This event is going to be called each time the page is shown to the user. So now the onload function needs a modify control. A modify control function, remember, is a function that let us change properties from any part of our page. So we can change, for example, the text that is shown in this control right here. Which data I'm going to send? I'm going to send the email address that was passed to this page, right? And the element that I'm going to modify is the text email. That's why I changed the name of it. And now the property is the text property. Let's check it out by refreshing again. Let's put here the email one more time. Click on it, and you can see the email is shown in this page right here, jorge@apphive.io. Please complete your profile. And now we can request some more information from the user. For now, I am only going to request a password and a password confirmation. I need both of them to ensure the user actually types the same password, right? If it copies it, doesn't matter. It can copy and paste it in both the inputs that I am going to put right here. So let's add a new field. Let's double click on it to change the placeholder, and the placeholder is going to be called password. There you go. And the password will be, and the input, sorry, will be called field password. And let's check it out. You can see here the input is already there, and if I type on it, you can see the letters that I am typing. But normally, when we are typing a password, we don't get to see the characters, right? So in order for us to hide them, we need to enable a property here. Blur submit control is hidden. There is a property. Okay, this one. If I click on it and I return here, you can see the password is now hidden. That means the characters are typed and are stored, but the interface doesn't show them. That's important because we don't want the user to accidentally show the characters of its password to anyone. So now let's change the text color so it's a little bit more noticeable. And actually, let's change as well the placeholder one. There you go. Now we can type a password. This is the first input. We need 2 inputs in order for us to request the user to put a confirmation, password confirmation. And this one is going to be containing the same password. So let's fill password confirmation. And this one is going to have the initial one, right? So now we need to validate these 2 values in order for us to create the new account, right? Because we need to create the new account when we press next. But first, before we do that, let's add a new button to go back. What happens when the user types the password incorrectly? So let's add a new container right here, and let's put the button inside. Now, selecting the container, let's change the direction of these children in order for us to add the 2 buttons, one horizontally to the other. So let's put here, let's select this one, Control C and Control V, and we have 2 buttons, one after the other. This one is going to be called preview and next, right? And the previous button is going to return us to the out email page in order for the user to correct the email. So let's do that. I replace top page right here. Let's go to the out email, and there you go. Let's refresh. Okay, let's type the password, the email, sorry. And just for the sake of it, let's put an extra E on it. And let's go to next. You can see I can read the email here. So if something is wrong with my email, I can say, oh, I forget the E, and I go to the previous page, right? And I can put here, I can delete the E and click next, and the email is already fixed, right? That's important because we need the user to have the opportunity to change the value that it puts before. So now we need the password of the user. So in order to do that, let's validate that the password and the password confirmation are valid and that they are the same value, right? So let's put here an onPress, and in this onPress, let's put a value is valid to validate the initial value, which is the password value. It's contained in the field password control. And after that, if the value is valid, let's add a new value is valid to check if the password confirmation is actually valid as well. So let's put here the password confirmation dot value. And after that, if I hit this one, which is value is a valid value, that means that both inputs had a value. That both inputs have a value, but it doesn't mean the values match, right? So let's first create here a new function, the book log. Both have a value, which means that both inputs have a value. Then we need to check if the values match. So let's do that. Let's refresh. There you go. Let's put my email. Next. Okay, we need a password right now. If I click next, nothing happens because we don't have the two values right here. Let's type some nonsense in this one and click again. Nothing happens. And if I click here, there you go. Both inputs have value. Now, the next job that we have to do is compare both and check if they are the same value. In order to do that, let's add a conditional right here. And this conditional will get the value from both inputs. The first one is password and the second one is password confirmation. There you go. And the operator that I want to check is triple equal, which means that they are both strings and that they have both the same value. So if it is true, let's put here, password is the same, right? Let's check it out. Let's refresh this one. Let's put the email. Let's click next. Let's put the password. Let's put again the password, but let's put a different string and let's click next. Nothing happens. Nothing happens because the password is not the same, right? Let's type the same password in both fields and click on it. There you go. We have now a validation that checks if the passwords are the same. When the passwords are the same, we need to call the function that is called loggedIn, which means log to the account, right? So let's remove the debug log. Let's press here and put a login. Sorry, where is it? Here. Login, and with this function we need to pass the email. Remember, the email is a property on our page right here, and the password is the value of any of these inputs because they are the same value, right? So let's put field password.value, and after that let's add here a debug log, because we know now that the user is already it's login. Oh, sorry, we don't have to use the login function. We must not use the login function. We need to use the sign up function. Sorry about that. So here, sign up. There you go. Let's put the email. The email, remember, is the page data, email address. Let's put the name. For now, I am not asking the user to give me their name, so let's put only user. And in the password, let's add the field password.value. Let's not put anything in the font value. And here, okay, there you go. User already exists, so we did have a user already exists. Sorry about that. We need to change something here in my validation, because here, when I am signing in, I check if the user already exists. The problem with that, sorry, we are not going to change it. The problem with that is that the function that we call is the function that is called sign up. So if the user doesn't exist, it's going to create one. That's a problem because we need to check if the user already exists without creating an account, right? That's why we use the database and a new collection to check that out. So returning to this one, I have a sign up, and if everything goes as planned, we have the success value here. And when we have the success value, we need to save in the database the value true in this account in order for us to know that the user already has an account, right? So let's put here a save data, save data in DB, sorry. And here let's open the user email. And here, instead of putting an UID, let's put an email hash. Remember, we already make a hash with the global formatter. So let's put here a global formatter. Let's select the value from our email, which is page data, email address. Let's put here the type, which is on a string. And let's put the target type, which is a base64. Let's change the name of this function to email hash. There you go. And let's put it before the call to the database. Now that we have the hash of the email, let's go to the database browser, user email, instead of an UID there, let's add the value, the email hash, and available, let's put it at true value. There you go. After the value is saved in the database, let's call the replace top page. And let's return to the splash screen. Why to the splash screen? Because we need to return to splash in order for us to check if the user is already logged in and go and redirect the user to the correct page. So let's try it out. There you go. Let's refresh everything. Okay, let's put the email. Let's put a 2 right here, +2. So I make sure the user is not the same. Click on it. There you go. A password. Let's add a password that matches. And let's click on this one. And there you go. I am logged in my account. If I refresh this one, everything is correct. There you go. Okay, that is the base process on how to create a new account. But what happens when the user is already logged in? Let's log out. From here, let's put my email again and let's click next. Nothing happens. Why? Because I already have a validation here that checks if the user is already logged in. That's why we do that, that database check, right? Where is it? Where is it? If an email, replace top page. This one is not the correct one. Value is valid. This value is valid. This check if exists. There you go. Here. So now it tells me that the user already exists. So if I put the book log here and put user already exists and go back here and click on it. Oh, sorry, I have to type something. There you go. The user already exists. When the user already exists, I need to create a new page in which the user is going to put the password that is already in his account. So in order to do that, let's copy this screen right here and let's change the name. Enter password. There you go. In this page, we are going to type something different. Welcome back. In order for us to let the user know that the account is already is already created. Please enter your password. There you go. Let's remove the email part and let's copy the email text. Why? Because we are going to show the email again here to the user. Remember the control name, which is text email. Let's add here in this page the email address as a property. There you go. And in the onload event of this page, let's add a modify control. And this modify control is going to send the page email address to the element which is called text email, and the property is called text, right? In the next button, let's remove everything. We don't need any of that. And here in the original page, when it detects that the user already has an account, instead of doing a debug log, let's add a replace top page. And this replace top page is going to be called out email, enter password, and here let's pass the email. So where is it? The email is in the input, right? Field, text area, field email. There you go. And now when I press next, I should go to this page that is called welcome back. Let's check it out. Let's refresh everything. There you go. Let's put the email. Click next. Welcome back. Please enter your password. Here is the email. And here I need to do something very similar that we did in the please complete your profile page, right? We need to add 2 buttons, not 1. Let's remove this one. The previous button is going to go to the out email, which is correct. And the next button is not going to validate anything for now. So let's refresh. Let's put the email again. Next, previous, next, previous, next. There you go. The user has the opportunity to change the password if it's something that was a mistake. Now we need a password. So let's copy the password part of it. And this input is going to be the field password. There you go. And in the next button, let's check if the password is set to some values. To do that, let's put a value is valid. There you go. Let's put the property from the field password, which is called email value, sorry. And after that, if the value is valid, we should log in, right? So let's put login. Let's put the email, which is a property in the page. And let's add the password. The password is the value property on the field that is called field password, right? There you go. After that, we need to check if everything goes correctly. And if everything does, let's return to the splash screen by replacing the screen. Replace top page, splash screen, and there you go. Let's check it out. Okay, put the email, the password, and next. There you go. We have now completed the normal login and sign in process. The problem now is that sometimes when I am doing this, there is going to be there is going to be errors, right? And we need a way to tell the user that those errors exist. Something very similar that we already did with the email, right? But for now, we already have a complete setup on how to do a login and sign up with email. In the next session, we are going to show the user some errors. For example, when the password is not correct, when the password does not match, when it's a new account, when the sign up function fails for something in the network or something like that, when the login function fails exactly for the same reasons, the user already exists or something like that, right? So I hope you find this lesson helpful. If you have any question, please let me know in the comments below. I will try my best to answer you. And I see you in the next one. Have a great one. Bye.